Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. It's Janet here, and we are talking about creating our faith based businesses. And so maybe you're new to your business and you're just launching it, or maybe you already have an existing business, but you want to shift it a little bit, a freedom shift, making it more in alignment with your messaging, your mission, your purpose, your calling, whatever that is. So this is going to be fun because we're about to embark on a little series, which I am titling The Sermon on the Mount, Your Ultimate Business Strategy Guide. Now, what better business strategy could you possibly have than building a business based on the teachings of Jesus? And let's try to find out, did Jesus, when he taught us how to act on the Sermon on the Mount, did those things that he taught us actually apply to business? And if they did, how can you make sure that your business is based on these teachings? Our subtitle for today is The Golden Rule in Building a Faith-Based Business. So I'm really excited to see where this whole series is going to take us, because one thing I know for sure is that every time I dig into anything that Jesus taught, it is super exciting. And this is one of the greatest books that I have read over and over again. In fact, I have so many copies of this book that it doesn't matter whether I'm in my Florida home or my Massachusetts home or where, or in my car. I have copies of this book everywhere. And I've been reading this probably now for somewhere around 15 years, and it never grows old, and I never can comprehend it all. And there's always some magnificent learning that's applicable to what I need right now. It's a highly recommended book, The Sermon on the Mount by Emmett Fox, and you can get it obviously on Amazon. Okay, so we're going to be starting out today by just talking about one of the concepts. And there are so many that I don't know how long this series will end up going, but I do know that anything that we can discern from Jesus, anything we can learn from his teachings is going to make us have a better business and a better life, of course, because that's what he taught us. He taught us all the principles for life, how to design our life in such a way that we would have peace and prosperity and purpose in our life. So here's the thing that we're going to be working on as we think about creating our faith-based business is that we need to combine sound business principles with profound biblical principles. And that is what this series is going to be about. So let's jump in. So let's talk about this profound teaching that Jesus gave us, which is the golden rule. And what he said was, do to others whatever you would have them do to you. This is the law and the prophets. So the golden rule is the foundation for any Christian life. And it is also the foundation for any Christian faith-based business. And then Jesus went on to say, so that we would understand that this is not the easiest thing in the world to do, he said, enter through the narrow gate, for the wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many will enter through that. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few will find it. So look, building a business that is based on the broad gate and the way of the world and not based on the teachings of Jesus and biblical principles is the easy way. And you may have some success for a while in the earthly plane here, but it's not going to bring you further spiritually. And so we want it all blended together. We want to prosper here on earth, but we also want to ascend spiritually. And we want our business to be the catalyst for both of those things to happen. So, we're going to talk a little bit more about this golden rule. And this isn't going to be a long training today. This is really foundational. And we'll dig deeper into some of the concepts as we go along. But what we want to start thinking about, there's really three areas that you're going to be thinking about in terms of how you treat others. So, in your business, you're going to be thinking about how you treat your customers. You'll be thinking about how you treat your employees or contractors that you may hire to work with you in your business. And you're going to be thinking about how you treat peers and or prospects for your business, right? Maybe competitors who are doing something similar, if you want to call them that. We'll get into that in a minute. But also, the prospects who may be the people who will end up working for you or with you. We need to look at all those different areas, but let's start with the customers right now. It sounds so simple to just say, I'm going to treat my customers the way I would want to be treated. But why is it so hard? Because in today's culture, there is very little customer service. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. We've all been through the nightmare of what happens when you try to call a company these days, right? Or you try to get any kind of an answer to something. I got this lovely letter here from the IRS saying that I didn't file some tax return from 3 years ago, which is not true at all. I did file the tax return and I paid them a lot of money also. But here's the thing, you can't call these people. You can't get to talk to anybody. You can't just get it resolved. It has to be some big hoopla, right? That's just adding a lot of stress and to my life right now that I didn't really plan on having to go and defend myself against the IRS. But okay, I'm guilty now because they say so. So now I have to prove my innocence. That's the way of the world right now with most big conglomerates and businesses. But I want to narrow this down a little bit because most of you are not these big conglomerates and you don't have big divisions and you don't have all kinds of people working for you and you don't have all this red tape and craziness. You've got a little business that is either a coaching business or a consulting business or a training or some service-based business that you're doing. And most of us are doing something on an online business. So let's start talking about what's going on in that world. I'm sure most of you have invested in a coaching program, or you've hired someone to perform some sort of a service for you, or maybe you've entered into some kind of a hybrid, which is training and group coaching or something like that. And let me ask you a question. Overall, what has your experience been in those programs or with those investments? And I can honestly say that I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years in every types of program going, right? And I'm not saying that the programs weren't okay or that I didn't get something out of all of them, but I am going to say that across the board, I really didn't get the impression from any of them that they were actually treating me the way I would want to be treated or the way they would want to be treated if they were in my shoes. It's obviously not that easy to do because I'm sure a lot of these people who I've paid money to over the years are good people and they truly wanted to give me a good experience, but it didn't end up being the case. And the reason is it's a tall order. So, why is it so difficult? So, we have to be aware of what is going to get in the way of us delivering this exceptional service to people and treating them the way we would want to be treated so that we can make sure that we take care of the root causes of those things. Because our intention can be good, but it's the things that get in the way that we didn't anticipate would get in the way and then cause the issue. So the first one is overwhelm. It's very easy as a business owner to get overwhelmed. And so when that happens, when you're scaling your business and you're wearing all the hats in the business, you start to struggle to maintain the personal connection that you want to have with each client. It's going to be really important to work on the root cause, which is the overwhelm, and start to figure out how to simplify your business. And again, I've been in the coaching world with my own business. And prior to that, I had a B2B agency. So 20 years as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, and I've had teams and I've been through it all. And I've probably failed a lot of times to actually give the exact treatment that I would have wanted myself. So I'm not being overly critical of others. I'm just saying that if I truly want a faith based business that's based on the principles and the teachings of Jesus, I have to fix that. So, overwhelm is something that I have to work on all the time. I think I found a way now to create a more simple business that allows me to spend more time in mentoring and actually interacting with my clients. But I'll be teaching that to you, and we'll all be working on that together. The second thing is automation. Now, automation can be a boom to your business, right? It can really actually help you in some ways to treat your customers better because it takes a lot of stress off the overwhelm that you're feeling. But the other side of automation is that sometimes it just becomes this impersonal thing. So, one of the coaches that I've been working with for years, somebody I highly respect, he was apologizing recently for the fact that he hasn't sent a personal email to his list and his customers and his prospects and his people he have a relationship with in I don't know how many years. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 5, maybe it's more than that. And the reason is because he got too busy and he lost that personal connection and he's trying to get it back again. So he's recognizing that he doesn't want to be treated that way. So why is he treating the people in his environment that way? So a lot of this is also realization and recognition and acceptance of what is reality and not making excuses. If the people you're serving are not getting the experience you would want for yourself, then we've got to go back to what Jesus said, which is treat people the way you want to be treated. Okay, the third thing is making promises versus reality. And look, we're all feeling some sales pressure. I've been in sales my entire life. And so it becomes a challenge to be able to not overpromise. What you want to do in a lot of cases is underpromise and overdeliver. But what most people do is they overpromise and then they underdeliver. And that doesn't feel good to be on the receiving end of that. The fourth thing is just this lack of empathy. And it's easy for us when we become more successful to forget what it's like to be in the shoes of the client who doesn't know what we know. And sometimes we feel like they should be learning it quicker or picking it up quicker. I'm guilty of this myself. Like, it's hard sometimes to go back to the basics and to realize that some people are just at ground zero and they need some hand holding and they need some extra support. And maybe you aren't always the one that can give it to them, but that needs to be built into your business in some way so that they don't feel lost. And especially when they've made an investment in themselves, because now they've invested in themselves and they feel vulnerable because they're not sure it was a good investment. And then if you don't show up in a way that gives them the comfort level, then they're feeling bad, like they made a bad decision and they're beating themselves up, or they're having to explain this to a spouse or a loved one or somebody else why they blew the money. And that's not a good feeling, right? You wouldn't want to feel that way yourself. And finally, is this financial pressure that we're all in to make money. And that sometimes overshadows our desire to actually provide our service. And I have seen this over and over again where a coach will start and they providing great service, but they're not really making enough money. And then it becomes more important to focus on the sales than it actually does to the fulfillment with the customers. And if they have to make a choice on where they're going to automate, they automate fulfillment, but that's not what the people paid for. So it's hard. Here's the thing, as Christian women in business, we have a lot to live up to. We're trying to follow the teachings of Jesus. And so we do have a unique opportunity to change the narrative, but that doesn't mean that all of the challenges are just going to go away. So what it means is working together, right? I believe truly that this whole energy of competition is really what's hurting us. And when we can learn to collaborate and help each other and provide resources that complement one another, we will serve so much better. And sometimes it's not my strength to help somebody on my team, but I have to find somebody that will come in and help that person. And maybe I ask a peer to do that. Maybe I ask somebody else on my team. Maybe I pay somebody to come in and do that. But these are things that we constantly have to be vigilant about. Imagine if every time that you did interact with your customers, you were doing it through genuine care and respect and a desire to serve them. And you maintained that on a regular basis. So there's so much more that we could talk about this, but I do want to get to a few of the other points. So maybe we'll come back and talk about this more. If this is something that you really want to dig deeper into, this whole idea of customer care and how to design your offer in such a way that you can support and nurture your customers, I'm happy to do that because you can't be available 24/7 and you can't give away everything for free. So you actually have to be present. You have to be honest. You have to be truly committed to your client's success. And you have to go the extra mile sometimes. But it doesn't mean that you have to be all things to all people. So let's not overpromise sometimes. And that's all part of it too. Just do the right thing. And it's going to take some effort and it's going to take a different way of thinking and it's going to take some praying, right? We need Jesus as our business mentor. We need to call upon him and we need to keep being reminded that Jesus is the best mentor we could possibly get and he is going to give us the guidance that we need. So connecting in with God and then making sure that the gifts that God gave us are the gifts and talents that we're offering to our people and not things that we can't deliver to them. Let's talk a little bit about this idea too about marketing. There is a marketing model out there that is very prevalent today and I want to know how you think about this, right? This tactic where these marketers get you sucked into watching a webinar or attending a masterclass or a challenge. Sometimes you pay for them, sometimes they're free. But you go into them so excited because they hype up the fact that they're going to teach you something and you're going to come out of there with this transformational awareness, right? And what happens is they're a glorified sales pitch. They spend the entire time teaching you what you can't do, right? Things that you didn't know you didn't know. And then they give you this big pitch to spend thousands of dollars to get this information that they just told you you didn't know. How does that model make you feel? And all this could be true, right? You can't just go take a course and learn how to build a business. There's a whole experience there. It's like getting a master's degree, right? Like you just don't go get a master's degree by taking a basic course. You got to take multiple courses. And that's the same with building a business. It's like getting a master's degree. You've got to master all the individual pieces of it. And it's a lot to learn. What happens though is that it's the marketers making it sound like you can be an overnight success and you can just plug into their little system and everything's going to change. When in fact, they know that's not the case. And in order for you to get what you need from them, if they're even going to deliver it, you're going to have to invest not hundreds of thousands, but thousands or maybe even $10,000 into the program. So if you don't like that model, then don't use it to build your business. See, I see people say, I don't like it, but that's the only way people buy. That's the way people buy because that's what's available to them. And recently, I've noticed some new trends out there. And so, what would that be? What if there was a sales page or a post on a Facebook post or a document, a Google Doc that actually detailed exactly what the deliverables were for your program, exactly what the steps and the processes are that you're going to teach those people in your program, how long it's going to take, what kind of interactions you're going to give them, whether it's going to be training courses, group coaching, one on one coaching, whatever it's going to be, retreats. And it also included the investment. What if it was just straightforward like that, without all the emotional stuff in there and all the hidden upsells? You know what? I like that model. I honestly think that model is, for today's day and age, especially, a much better model because people want information. People want to get the details. They don't want to go through the sales process. They don't want to go to the dealership to buy the car. They just want to get the information. They can make an informed decision. We're used to that now. What I've been doing with the Win partner program, our joint venture opportunity, is doing just that. If anybody wants to know what it's about, we send them a Google Doc. It will, I'll record it. There'll be ways for them to listen to me talk about it. There's a way for them to read all the details about it. And that way, there's no surprises. Nobody feels like they're on some sales call getting, bamboozled or pushed in a certain direction. And I like that model. So if you like it and it feels good to you as a receiver, then maybe that's the model you should use as the salesperson and marketer as well. Another thing that I see happening out there right now that I like is that there's a lot of coaches that are just offering their programs on a monthly basis. And you don't have to sign a contract. You don't have to commit to a year-long program. You can commit on a month-to-month basis. I even know somebody out there, she has a high-ticket offer, but she has people pay by the week. And they get the opportunity to come in. And each week they get to decide again, do I want to pay for next week? Did I get enough value? Do I want to keep doing this? But even if you do monthly, I like that model because it's a great way for people to get to come in and start experiencing some growth. And if you do a good job, they're going to want to stay. Now, it's a little bit, there can be pitfalls in this one because a lot of times if people haven't invested and they haven't made a commitment, they're going to derail themselves, right? They're not going to show up and do the work. But the question is, if they're going to derail themselves anyway, do you want them leaving feeling bad that you took their money and they didn't stick with it and get the result? Or is it better to just bring more people in, expose more people to what you have to offer, and give them the best service you can possibly give them? And then the ones that really should be staying there, the ones that really are going to get great results, will stay and be happy and be treated the way you would want to be treated. And the ones who aren't really making the connection, maybe it's just not the right time for them. Maybe it's not the right material for them. Maybe you're not the right person for them. Then they leave, but they don't have resentment because it was fair. They didn't have to commit without knowing what it was like to be on the inside working with you. So again, I like that model. So because I like it, I think other people would like it. So that's how I'm building my program month to month. I do like to encourage people when they come in that with anything, because I'm helping them build a business, that there's going to be at least a 6-month ramp up time. So I like to encourage them to commit to the 6 months and set that up ahead of time. And I tell them what we're going to do over those 6 months and why it's going to take that time to get where they want to go. However, they have the option to get out if they want without feeling like they have to jump through a bunch of hoops or go to court or break a contract or lie and make up excuses, right? Nobody wants to have to do that. Those are some real world things that I think are really worth considering. And maybe if you're using a model right now that isn't something you would like to buy from, maybe you should reconsider how you're actually selling your programs. And then, so with regards to customers, you really want to create that wow experience for them in the same way you want to be wowed. So let's leave it at that. Jesus wants you to wow other people because you want to be wowed. So that is that teaching. Now, let's just talk about the other couple of areas. So the first one is people you hire. So they may be employees or they may be contractors, but how do you treat those people? Do you show up on time? Do you provide them with the resources they need so they can succeed? I've seen this happen so many times where people will hire a virtual assistant or they'll hire somebody to create their website or whatever, but then they don't provide the information that person needs in order for them to be successful. And they don't feel good because they can't complete the work that they were hired to do. And you're not going to be happy either because they're not going to deliver what you thought you paid for. It's really important to respect people that you hire, respect their expertise. If they tell you that this is the process that's going to get you the end result, do you want to be in charge of the process or do you want to let them be the ones who tell you because they are experts? Are you on time with your payments? How many times do people have to go begging to get paid? There is nothing worse when you have done the work than to have to go and beg someone to pay you and chase them down. So are you on time with your payments? Are you reliable? Can they count on the fact that if you said you're going to pay them on a certain day, it's going to be there in their bank account or in their email? I've seen so many times where people just treat other people who work for them with this lack of respect. And it's just not the way you would want to be treated, or the person meeting out that kind of treatment would want to be treated. The other thing is to think about competitors and your fellow business peers. Do you speak highly of them? Do you edify them? Or do you try to tear them down? And this can be done in a kind of a passively aggressive way, right? Where it's in a little insidious, there's an undertone there. And I think that a lot of that is because we've all been brought up with this competitiveness, right? We have to beat other people, we have to win in a way that makes somebody else lose. What win, the Women's Impact Network is all about win. So what we believe in is collaboration over competition. Maybe you join forces with somebody who does something similar to what you do and you can do it better and you can serve more people and you can offer more services because you're now working together and collaborating, right? It's a whole new world. And many people, and this is women I'm talking about. Many women don't get it. They're highly competitive. They were brought up in that masculine energy, and they think that being competitive is the only way to go. And I don't think that's what Jesus taught us. I never heard Jesus talking about going and beating up other people or not beating them up, but beating other people, right, to the finish line. I think it was all about working together, combining your gifts and your talents and your strengths, appreciating that God gave us each individual gifts and talents and strengths. And I just really think a lot of women are very critical of each other. Have you ever posted something in a Facebook group about what you do or encouraging people who might be interested in what you do to come and learn more from you or inviting them to a Facebook group or an event or something and had other women come in and cynically make these comments or act like you were spammy or slimy or something because you're out there putting an offer out that for people who might be attracted to what you have to offer? Why would women do that to each other? Why does it hurt not one woman because another woman might be able to help certain people in a group? So be conscious of that. That's the things that Jesus wants us to bring to the forefront of our consciousness and to start realizing, whoa, that doesn't feel good to be on the receiving end of that. So I certainly don't want to be on the meeting out side of that. So, what if there was a way for everyone to thrive? It's a total different way of thinking. Instead of being critical of other people, how about we think about how we can support and help other people to thrive and give people this idea that everybody matters. Everybody's mission is important because they're called by God to go and do that particular thing. And why would you want to get in the way of that? It's you would want to support the fact that people are out there wanting to do good work in the world. I just think that this idea of the wide gate, it's easy to find all of the worldly ways to grow your business and to find all of the little tricks of the trade and all the psychological little tricks. And believe me, I've studied that stuff my whole life because when you're in sales, you learn that. And there is I have a sales process. I call it heart flow. And I've had it for years. And it was something that I wasn't even probably thinking about the golden rule or Jesus at the time that I created the heart flow sales process. But it is a way that I can bring people through a process in their own mind to help them overcome the internal barriers that they're putting up and the voices in their head and all the negativity from the past and all of that. So it is important to know how to help people to move to a decision, but it can never be coercement. It can never be forcing people, shaming them, making them feel less than if they're not sure what they should do. It really it's really all about inspiring people and encouraging them to step into their next level, teaching, true coaching people, mentoring, helping people to understand that sometimes they are in their own way and in giving them steps to get it through that process. So, yes, there is a place in the world for sales. I call it sharing a life enhancing solution. And I do that using the heart flow sales process. However, it's what goes on right in a majority of the world is the easy way, right? Go through the big gate, don't go through the narrow gate. But the narrow gate is harder. It's a different experience. And we have to work on that. And sometimes to get through the narrow gate, I heard a story that the reason that was in the Bible was that for the camels, they said the camel getting through the eye of the needle, but the camels had to get through these narrow gates and they always had a lot of packs on them, right? And they were packed to the side and they were packed high. So it became really important that that the people who wanted to get their camels through these gates had to get rid of a lot of stuff and only bring the essentials with them. So maybe we take that as one thing to think about. I'm always talking about simplifying. What can you get rid of? What's all this extra baggage? What's creating all the stress in your life that's making you not be able to go through this narrow gate and serve people and do to them as you would have them do to you? So it's a powerful way of looking at how your business is structured now and how it will be structured in the future. And it's a big topic, as you can tell. We've been talking now for over half an hour, and there's so much more that I could say about this topic. But I want to give you some quick hits, things that you can start to really assess. How do I measure up? And if I look at how I'm designing my business, is it going to give the end result being that the person feels that they're treated the way I would want to be treated? And if I've already got a business, is it delivering on the service the way that I would want to receive it? And if not, and I truly am committed to making my business a faith based, biblical based business, then I have to do some shifts and changes, right? And believe me, in the end, these will be the freedom shift changes that you make, because as long as we are in alignment with Jesus and the teachings of Jesus and our mission to serve God, we're going to feel happy, joyful, and free. Or we're going to feel peace, prosperity, and purpose. So all of these are our goal, and our business is the means that we're going to get there. So I just want to say thank you for joining me today for this episode of The Freedom Shift. And remember that when you build your business around the teachings of Christ, then you're going to be successful. You're going to be lighting the way for other people to emulate what you're doing, because when you're delivering and people feel good about what you're doing, then that's going to encourage them to be good and deliver and treat other people the way they would want to be treated. Every change that you want to see in the world has to start here with you. That's the ripple effect that we're going to create. That's the movement that the Women's Impact Network is all about. That's what the Freedom Shift is all about. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do it by learning that the Sermon on the Mount has all of these principles laid out for us, and it is our ultimate business strategy guide. So I will be back in a few days, next week, as soon as possible, with another episode of this Sermon on the Mount. And I look forward to sharing with you. And I love your comments. And if you want to connect with me, you can just do it by reading in the description and getting connected with me on Facebook or anywhere else you can find me, LinkedIn. I'm all on all the platforms. And let's talk. And if you're just looking to be a part of WIN, then come and join the Women's Impact Network and stay here. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel, because I go live every now and then. And when I go live, it's just spontaneous and you'll get notified. And at least, even if you're not there when I'm doing it live, you'll know that there's a recording there that you can go and listen. It'll always be a training. Hopefully, it will always be insightful. And it'll always be inspired by God, because that's how I roll these days. Everything that I do is just comes to me. It's downloaded to me through the Holy Spirit. And so I am called to share it with you, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So love to all of you. Blessings. Have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, wherever you are in the world, and we will talk again soon. Bye for now.